Nate Otis. I always feel like I'm gonna fuck people's names up. S-
That's perfect, man.
So I always say I'm like, did I say that right? It's like this thing. I'm always worried about fucking people's names up. It is what it is, though. How you feeling, dude?
I'm good.
I
I'm
know.
good.
Did I fucking hit play on the?
Of course not.
It's okay. We're playing.
You got a That's like a mini remote.
It's not working. I'll just hit. This is all still staying in the podcast. Just the video will be behind.
No, it's totally appropriate, right?
Yeah,
It's
I could edit it.
Everything's a growing experience
It's all a process, and I enjoy showing people the process,
for sure.
showing them the growth. Man, all right. So let's jump right in because we started to do it when you got here, and I was like, dude, we gotta save this. This is all great conversation.
Sure, sure.
So, you started the Excelsior program, right?
I did.
Let's talk about that.
So the Excelsior program was a project that I kind of envisioned after attending a funeral of a 14-year-old gunshot victim here in North St. Louis.
Oh shit.
Um, yeah, kid's name was Jamar Mack Jr. I guess it would be, man, 2.5, maybe 3 years ago now.
Where's he shot at?
Um, he was walking home from the library, actually. I, yeah.
Whoa. So was he just like collateral damage for something else, do you know, or was he the target?
It seemed pretty vindictive almost.
Oh, really?
I don't know that. Uh, I don't know the number of times that he was shot, but I do know one of the rounds hit him in the pelvic region. Um,
Shit.
and I mean, again, if a 14-year-old involved in or the recipient of that type of violence is something that's and unfortunately it's all too common here in St. Louis. And being removed from I suppose that environment, I didn't have opportunities to experience those types of situations and funerals, and especially in recent years, and to revisit that was, oh man, it was it was extremely eye opening, especially being older and more mature.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in the funeral home, and I suppose it's a reverend or a bishop or somebody giving a speech and talking about Jamar and kind of the current state of things. And I'm sitting next to, so my wife is a teacher at a school on the north side. She was a teacher at the school that
Like
he
in
went
North
to.
City, St. Louis, or like
Correct,
okay.
correct. It's a school. It's a middle school, the only middle school, public middle school on the north side between basically Walnut and Fairground Parks, north of Natural Bridge. Um, so we're sitting at this funeral, and I'm sitting next to one of my wife's students, who's a friend of Jamar's, and you know, as men in society, we're told that we're supposed to be emotionless, and we're supposed to be hard, and this raw figure that
Mm-hmm.
can't be soft and subtle and broken. You can't. It's weak.
Yeah, you can't do that, bro.
Yeah,
You gay?
exactly, exactly.
That's so
So
much bullshit.
so this 13-year-old is trying to hold and keep that persona of emotionless at a funeral for one of his friends that was shot and killed. Unfathomable. I reach around, I embrace the young man, and the energy that was exchanged, man. That's why my voice is a little shaky, just kind of recalling it.
Mm-hmm.
He could he could let go, and he just melted into these tears. And I mean, it absolutely broke my heart that kids have to experience this in our city, and it's so frequent. And it's not just in our city; it's in practically every major metropolitan area in the country. So this theme of clear violence and lack of self-esteem. And if I don't have self-esteem, why would I have respect? And if I don't respect myself, well, why would I respect you or anyone else for that matter? And this mentality, it's catching them so young, and I wanted to do anything that I thought I could contribute, and the first thing that I thought of was how much martial arts helped me as a frustrated and just lost youth.
Right. Yeah. No, martial arts. Um, I think just having that discipline, just just having that structure put into your life, it can really change things.
100%.
100%. Yeah. So, fuck, dude, that's some heavy stuff. You don't. Me personally, like growing up, I've never been exposed to that level of violence. Um, but kids are very adaptable. And I've had some conversations with a couple different people. Rob Washington was this guy I had on the podcast. You know Rob,
Yeah.
and he grew up in a very violent environment like that. And a couple other people I've talked to, and like kids just adapt, and it's like this is just normal life.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that is entirely true. These environments filled with lack of access, a disproportionate amount of accessibility is ultimately and
Yeah.
is what it comes down to. You can certainly there's troubled homes, and you can absolutely blame parents, but you also have to consider that some of these parents are still children themselves. And at what point in society did we say, um, people that look like you and I, or maybe even more melanin rich, as I like to call it, they're labeled as older, quicker. You need to be more responsible, faster, and sooner. In fact, it's something I would like to do some research on. Is do people with darker skin tones and are they perceived by society as being older?
Hmm.
Simply put, I mean,
That's a good question.
a kid that's 18 that doesn't look like you or I and makes a mistake, is his mistake maybe more forgivable? Is the justice system not as harsh? On top of it, are we considering the circumstances from which these two, anecdotal individuals come from? I'd be interested to know.
Right. I'm sure there's some statistical data out there that's on the difference between like what are the sentences handed out to like people of color versus
Yeah, no, I would again I would be super curious. So
yeah.
I know one issue is that the amount of plea deals that we do in this country is it's like 90 something percent of criminal cases they get plead out, because if we take them to trial, I don't know that we have enough judges to sit. I don't know that the system is built for that.
It's like a revenue system almost. It just seems like
Absolutely.
just trying to get revenue, dude. Now, I think it's fascinating that I'm kind of torn. Like I'm really just trying to figure out this whole I, we hold kids to such a high standard. I mean, our brains, our frontal lobes aren't fully developed until we're 25. Yet we say at 18 now you're an adult. Now you can go join the military and now you can go fight and you can vote and I mean you've had your driver's license for a couple of years. Like you're an adult now. Like you graduate high school, but you still don't even know who the fuck you are. Your brain's not fully developed. Oh, wait, you still have to wait 2 years to drink or and depending on the state to smoke, to smoke cannabis.
Right.
So it's like you're an adult. Well, not all the way. Like you still have to wait for a couple things, and then. But what we know with science is that your brain isn't even fully developed. You know what I mean? Like you don't even know who the fuck you are.
Shit, man, I'm 30 and I don't know that I know who I am fully. It's growth is it's a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
We don't all do it the same. We don't all approach it the same. We don't all embrace it the same. It's not this uniform process across the population, and so many other factors come into play. Like how could I possibly know who I am when I'm trying to study and learn about the presidents from the beginning of the the foundation of our nation with my biochem test and my
Yeah.
we don't I think the way in which we approach life for children is daunting and
Yeah, you got to know what you want to do by the time you graduate. Like, oh,
there's such an emphasis on high
like
school.
what do you
Like
mean you're not going to college? You must be a fucking loser,
you're a
dude.
failure, right?
Yeah, you're not going to college right now. Like you don't know what you want to be for the rest of your life. Like, man, and especially here in St. Louis, or just I think just in the Midwest in general, where you have a very conservative population and they just present, I've said it 1,000 times, but like they just present a way of life as the way of life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's just like, man, just chill out for a second.
Well, we also have that sociological, that or I'm sorry, that socioeconomic complex here in St. Louis. We immediately hit you with a where'd you go to high school?
That is so strange to me because I'm not from here.
It's so I can pinpoint where you're from, kind of what you're worth.
Yeah,
Who do you know? Maybe.
yeah.
It's
Such an interesting thing.
that's a very catty question,
Yeah.
certainly.
Oh, that shit fascinates me. Yeah, man, but I've just always just kind of just wrestled with this idea of these kids who are growing up in these environments of just of scarcity, of there's a lot of violence. There's not a lot of forethought. It's just kind of like what's happening right now. And you kind of pair that with being a kid and your brain not being fully developed, and like you be like you're more susceptible to making brash decisions. You know what I mean, based off of emotion.
Absolutely.
It just seems just like such a fucking recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Whether it's whether it's being worried about being able to go home and have a meal provided for you, or if your parents are coming home, or if they're okay, or if somebody's sick. I mean, we're talking about disproportionality across the board. We're
Right.
talking about low access to food. We're talking about low access to jobs or in banking opportunities, but you can get your check cashed. Um, the heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, blood diseases, heart problems. I mean, it just
Yeah, there's definitely less healthy options in poor communities.
and part of it is a cultural thing. I certainly find um, that with lack of access comes settling for poor quality food, bad choices just in general. Like, I mean, eating hot chips and some now and laters with something purple to drink sounds bomb, but that can't be. That's a disaster
Yeah.
if that's every single day for decades. And there are so many awesome programs and organizations that do contribute, but you know I feel like the divisiveness right now, it's so hard to get people to see that there are options that they could contribute to, or whether it's their time and their energy or their money. um, there are people trying to fill those gaps in our city, and I I decided I was
Yeah.
gonna try and help.
So that's what drove you to start this program and to start partnering with these schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you were saying that the schools, like they don't necessarily have a lot of funding based off the property taxes. Is that right?
So in Missouri, the public school system is funded through property taxes, correct? And again, we're talking about disproportionality. Um, with the end of segregation came this process of black people moving into, and in fact, I think the very first neighborhood in St. Louis was the Greaterville neighborhood, just north of Delmar. That now now we have the Delmar divide. I mean the the property value north of Del Mar, the median income north of Del Mar, the average education level north of Del Mar. These things are very real and very problematic. Um, but yeah, I think if property taxes drive the system, um, I don't know that talking about increasing taxes or changing taxes is the methodology to fix this problem, but it's certainly something to consider and look at.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the craziest thing to drive down, one of these roads through because a lot of these roads they go complete north to south, like you know what I
Hmm.
mean. You go through the entire city, so
We're grid.
yeah, so it's like you're driving down and it's like this building is boarded up and that building is condemned and then it's like just not a nice area and then it's like boom, big ass fucking house, like easily $1 million home just right there. Just you can. It's like it's kind of like whenever it's like a picture of like a sunny day, and then like it's just like like a rainy day, like right, and there's just clear divide where the rain cloud is. But you just look at that, and it's like fuck, man, that's crazy. Like how does that even?
It's very real. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's very real.
there's a clear line.
And I mean, again, it's right there at Del Mar, and it's I don't even. I think the disgusting part is the immediate change, just due to some of the again higher valued homes.
It's fascinating to see.
It's something.
It's. Did you watch that Maybe I might be lying, and maybe it wasn't the documentary. I feel like it was though. I feel like I was watching something. They were talking about how there were those huge housing projects downtown.
Prodigo.
Yeah, and then those got torn down, and then they slowly just started funneling that community towards the north. And now that then everybody's now in North County, which is so secluded out there, in my opinion. I'm just like, God, like there's everything that you could possibly need really to live out there, but I mean it's just so far away from everything.
Yeah, it is. That's a great point. I have my conspiracy theories, if you will, about
Which
the attempts to continue to further push that divide north. But I think it's also kind of comical to see the amount of people on Facebook that run their mouth about they burnt down Ferguson, brah. Like, take a deep breath, bro. Like my white wife works in Ferguson. She teaches at Ferguson Middle School. Like, take a deep breath. It's not there are white people that live there actually.
yeah, I was
It's
working
a
at.
nice community. It's beautiful for real.
It wasn't even that bad during that time. Even it sounded the media makes things sound so terrible
I like to
because
go see for myself.
yeah, because I worked at Express Scripts. It was right next to the
Yeah.
yeah, dude, right next to that place, and there was nothing really happening, dude. Like, I mean, there was stuff going on, right? But it's just amazing the power of imagination paired with just a snippet of visual. All you need is a little visual, and that's all you're getting with the news or a lot of it could just be a little video. You know what I mean? And
That's all
then
it takes.
and then it's like you'll see 10 people piled up together, and then it's like, man, there must be fucking 100 people there. It must be fucking crazy. But
Right.
we just imagination will just run wild when we see things.
Well, and it also it's that groupish guilty by association factor. Association factor. Wow. Um, you know, we like to paint people or groups of people with a broad brush.
Yeah.
It's white people probably feel like, well, all white people are viewed as being racist, right? Well, no, that's absolutely not true. Well, just because I said this and that's not necessarily true. Yeah, like a few bad apples that burn down a building and then people go in and loot. Like it was kids mostly, like pissed off kids that have been mad for a while, for generations, in fact, making poor decisions based off of emotion.
Kids do the dumbest fucking
They
things.
do the dumbest shit.
Man, I did so much
They
dumb
flip
shit.
cars and burn shit all the time in Philadelphia when they win, but that's not that's kids being kids, right?
Yeah.
I, there's just it's the divide is very real, and it's the divisiveness is incendiary, and it's every day, and it's Facebook and social media has become toxic, and
Yeah.
I'm guilty of engaging in it. Um, so we gotta do better. We gotta make a change.
Yeah, man. Well, you're taking action, which is important because so many people talk about it and it's like I don't want to fucking hear that because I've essentially inoculated myself from negativity. Like
I like it. I like it.
like I just don't have time for this shit. Like I'm just so busy trying to like to be positive and to do shit. Like I don't watch the fucking news. I only hear about things. I live under a rock. Maybe it's to a fault, but I don't know a lot of shit that's going on unless I talk to people about it because it's just too much fucking negative, man. It's just too much and I just don't have time for that energy. Like I'm just trying to do too many other things. Like I tell myself I need to maybe keep up with current events, even if I'm just reading more news articles or something, just to
Sure.
have an eye on it. But I don't have time for that shit. And if you let it, it will consume your fucking life.
100%.
24 hours, Trump. 24 hours, you got reality TV just to watch whatever the fuck. You could just watch,
Or some other
see it.
trash.
Yeah, you whatever you want. Like anything, you can just pick a fucking news station and you can leave it on all day and just consume all negativity if you want. And people do that, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, and we literally seek it. We seek it. So like we'll fill our feeds and we'll actively go search to find something that aligns with our ideology and our paradigm, and we're not really challenging ourselves. There's not a constructive forum to have a conversation. I mean, I'm finally finishing up my undergrad education, double majoring in economics and anthropology, and some of the conversations that I've been able to have since reacclimating to academia, it's fascinating, and it's unreal just because of the demographic is so wide and diverse at UMSL, both by age and cultural experience, if you will, or ethnicity. People have this other label of higher education so liberal, and it's a bunch of libtards. That's not really the case. Like
Not Missouri
it's
necessarily.
yeah, okay, very true. My experience, anecdotally, um, I there just um, there's no dialogue. There's
Yeah.
just no dialogue. It's your side versus my side, and it's these hyper bullshit extremes, and everybody else is kind of here
Yeah.
and here. Not
Well, the
it's
problem is just
exhausting.
the loudest people. It's the minority who are just really loud in each of those camps, and they're making the rest of them look bad.
Very true.
Yeah, I like that Joe Rogan. He's always like, look, you take 100 people. What are the odds of one of them being a fucking idiot? 100%. Right? So we have a country of 300 million people. That's 3 million idiots. Some of them are going to be vegans. Some of them are going to be CrossFitters.
Shots fired. Shots
Some of
fired.
them are going to be Dems and Repubs. And you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be fucking morons in every camp. And they're always loud.
Yeah. No, I would absolutely agree with that. But I think it ultimately goes back to an education system that
Yeah.
is undervalued, and
It's definitely broken. I don't believe that America wants to be the best. We say we do, but what are we doing as far as taking action towards that? Like our education system, we're constantly cutting funding. Always for these extracurricular programs. I can remember being in high school. It's actually kind of a blessing and a curse to always have to go sell shit in high school, go door to door and sell a Savers card or
oh shit, man.
always like we had to hustle for the teams. So going door to door selling, like now I look back on them like shit, man, that's actually a really good skill to have. But the fact that you actually have to go do that is kind of, I mean, it's kind of shitty.
Yeah, yeah. It's I suppose it's got a bit of a dichotomy attached
R-
to it, right?
right.
You can
Pluses and minuses.
you can juxtapose and compare and contrast all you want, but I think that process of exchanging conversation and making eye contact and reading body language, and these are important tools and skills that people need to have.
For
And
sure.
that's kind of part of what we try to approach when um, my me and my coaching staff teach our program, is we talk about and try and give little life lessons like what is communication. And these kids are not these kids are really intelligent.
Hmm.
I ask the questions and let them kind of lead this process. And they talk about gestures, and they talk about eye contact and facial expression. And it's kind of a refreshing process to be able to reaffirm these moral traits, these necessities for a successful life. They've already got them. It'd be great if somebody could just give them benefit of the doubt.
Right. Yeah, because, a lot of these kids don't have that at home to see, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a mix. There are no doubt stereotypes. I mean, I come from a home of stereotypes. My dad was a drug addict. He left me and my mom when I was young, and she was diagnosed with liver failure, a hereditary disease, primary biliary cirrhosis. Um, but yeah, there are kids that have no parents and are with an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or whomever could take them in. But there are also kids that have parents who are working 2.5 or 3 jobs to
Right.
try and put food on the table, and it's the same type of disconnect and inability or lack of relationship, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's a spectrum.
Right,
It's
right.
certainly a
Yeah,
spectrum.
so whether or not the parents are actually in the life or like in the kid's life or not, but I guess it's kind of it's a situation of how much time are they spending with the kids. And it's funny, you can actually see that on both ends of the spectrum, right? Whether you're extremely rich or extremely poor, because
Sure.
how many of those rich kids, like, they're just babysat by toys or a nanny or something because dad and mom are just always working or traveling or whatever the case is because of work.
100%.
Right,
Yeah.
but then you have this on this flip side, we got these lower communities and maybe they're working 2 or 3 jobs or you know what I mean, just doing what they can to make ends meet or you know what I mean?
It's again, it's that sociological construction that we've created. One's you know we paint groups with broad brushes.
Right.
All rich people have it great. That may not be the case.
Right.
You may not even know what love looks like.
They have the highest rate of suicide.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? You don't see people struggling committing suicide.
Yeah, by gun, in fact, the highest percentage in our nation is a particular demographic between the ages. I think it's like 35 to 65 or 45 to 65.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Um, Shit, farmers right now are in a bad way. Um, I, Suicides, in fact, I think the third or second or third uh, deadliest um, um, contributor to deaths in our nation across quite a few
Yeah.
age groups, and that's it's pretty telling.
Yeah, that's a very scary thing and I sometimes I do wonder if it is because I mean, it's a very multifaceted situation, right? I don't want to boil it down to like make it seem like it's too easy, but sometimes I wonder if it's just because like there's just not enough struggle in people's lives, or maybe not enough community, or see, I don't know, I don't think you can pinpoint it to just one thing, but I heard, and it was probably another podcast I was listening to, and but it was you don't see suicide in these struggling areas where people are just like work like they're every day is focused on just living. You know what I mean? It's not you don't see these people killing themselves.
Yeah, I think there's a different respect for life, and maybe it is partially due to family unit and the whole concept of kinship, really, and what that includes and who that includes.
Hmm.
We want bigger houses with bigger fences so that we can have more shit. Uh, I don't, I don't, I don't see that in tribal places. I don't see that in
Yeah,
these more humble.
community is so important. So important.
It's they what happened to the expression "it takes a village," right? Like
Yeah, we're missing that for sure. I think living in the like in the cities like that, it almost, even though we're closer together, like it takes away from community almost. I mean, we got a lot of people in an area, but I mean, dude, I live in this apartment complex. I don't fucking know anybody here. I don't. I barely say hi to anybody. I know my next door neighbor is a dare officer. We say hi to each other. That's about it.
dare officer, huh?
Yep.
Wonder how effective that program is.
Um,
Shots fired.
yeah, I don't know. We could probably pull our resources from that one. But you know what I mean? Like there's just not the same level of community.
Yeah,
And
it's
then that's when you start seeing gangs take over in some of these lower uh these lower educated areas, because I think education does play a huge role in that, right? Like just you don't necessarily, I think the more you learn, the better you are at I don't know how. I'm trying to organize my thoughts here.
I'm thinking education plays a huge role, but I'm also thinking again, it's access, it's summer camps, it's after
Yeah.
school programs,
Yes, being able to see the
it's
possibilities.
not just sports teams.
Right.
And martial. So it's funny every time I go to this particular SLPS school, St. Louis Public School. Um, the kids are always like, "Oh, what's up, Mr. Karate Coach?" And I'm like, "It's not karate, like jujitsu cats." It's always like, "Please,
Yes.
please, please
Quit
stop calling
quit disrespecting me.
it out. I'm gonna choke you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what it's not. I'm gonna show
Yeah.
you what it's not." And um, like again, that just shows the um, I don't know the lack of access, man. Like
Yeah.
there are no jujitsu schools on the north side.
Yeah. Yeah, access and just having exposure is so important. So important. But no, yeah, I mean, but you'll see these kids just searching for something to belong to. So and then that's whenever this vicious cycle just,
Or someone to even just see them, like
yeah, coaches are so important.
we think that again it goes back to this thought process of a broad brush, man. Like black people are viewed as the other and the other is scary, right? It's fearful. We're afraid of black people in this culture in our society. Just being a little bit of brown makes you a little bit like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
You make me let me hear how you speak, right? Can you code switch? Okay, you can code switch. I might put my wallet. I might not take. Anyway, I'm painting a broad brush as well, but a lot of these kids really aren't. They're not thugs. They're not. I'm working with 12 to 15-year-olds, and they're not bad kids. Like they're just kids being dumb. Like I was so dumb and ill behaved at that age.
Yeah.
I just so they have to they have to be excessive. We have to go further than that
Mhm.
was something that was so very very important in my house. My mom, a white woman, trying to teach a little brown boy how to be what society labels as a black man. Like how does a white woman do that? And
Right.
one of those resiliency tools was the ability to code switch, right? If you can't speak well, if you cannot articulate yourself and paint this pretty picture for people, you will get your shit in trouble. Like this will get you in trouble.
Yeah.
And it certainly came in handy, but these kids are not. They're not who the media
Yeah.
and the society at large thinks they are. Like
Right.
they're really
Right.
they're great kids.
Did you have a program like this growing up? So what was it like growing up for you?
Um, dysfunctional family, man. So I have two siblings. I have a an older brother and an older sister. She's 11 years older than me. It was her birthday yesterday. Shout out Mary J.
Happy
Uh,
birthday.
and my brother's 10 years older than me. My brother and I share the same father. My sister and I share the same mother.
Okay.
Um, we basically lived in the South Side my entire life. A couple years in the Shaw neighborhood back in the late 80s when it was, I guess it was like the Vietnamese and the blacks were banging a lot down there. It was,
Oh, really?
yeah, it was lots. It was pretty violent for a while. But that was also during the crack cocaine epidemic and
It's an interesting time in American history.
80s babies are crack babies. That's what they say. But it was, I don't know, man. It was cool. Like my siblings were dope. I loved them, but my parents did not have a healthy relationship. Um, my dad was a drunk. He was physically and verbally abusive until the time he left. Um, I was pretty exceptional at most sports. Football and track and field were kind of my fortes, and they did what they could to put me in camps and just keep me busy to keep me out of the streets because I wanted to be with the cool kids that had flashing money. So any chance I could, I was kicking it.
Yeah.
But they tried to keep me busy, and it worked for the most part.
Yeah. Those other kids seem so fucking cool, don't they?
Man,
It's like they're adults. It's like
I
those.
want what you got, like
Yeah.
and I think it goes back to like you said that those particular communities where homes are parentless or not necessarily the absence of a parent, but just the lack of time.
Right.
We seek that, right? We're groupish. We're very groupish people. We want to belong,
We need a tribe of some sort. Yeah, people need people,
and
whether they want to admit it or not.
and we seek that, and so yeah. Then, like I said, my old man left when I was about 10. My mom was diagnosed with liver failure. She had a transplant. Stayed with my sister for a little while she was recovering. That time was kind of a blur because it was probably it was very traumatic as far as taking care of my mom by myself until she actually had the transplant. Just learning to cook and clean and do laundry at 10 years old. Like,
Yeah.
I lost my childhood, like, immediately, you dig? And I was mad. I was very angry. Um, you know, what did I do wrong to make my dad leave? Kind of, sad black dad story, and,
Yeah, and
and
you're just trying to make sense of it.
and I was angry for a long time, and it was, when I would do, I think I did like Kempo karate maybe as a kid, and like they made me work with the adults because I had probably hit puberty at 10 and a half, 11 because of the stress. I think environment can induce some of those
Yeah,
things.
there are a lot. I mean, we're learning a lot with epigenetics and stuff, and environment plays a huge role in what gets expressed and when and
Yeah,
how, and yeah.
one of those stressors that are
Yeah.
contributed from parents, like you said, the epis. I didn't know you studied genetics. That's dope.
Dude, I dive into science hard. I'm a
That's dope.
nerd.
But yeah, man, it was martial arts that probably did the best for my humility, because I was a cocky prick. I still kind of am. Which it allows me to work with those kids well, especially the ones that have a little bit of an attitude or too, I'm too cool. You can't reach me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna keep. I'll be back next week. Like, I'll see you next week though.
Yeah. It's
Um,
like, listen, I know who you are. I
right.
see you.
Exactly. And so that's what I thought would be so applicable, was that experience that I got. Because when I played football, I was an asshole, and when I won in track, I was an asshole, and just like then I had knee surgeries, and I lost that glory, if you will, even though I played for a terrible team and terrible coaching staff. Oh, you guys were terrible. Um, I and I got caught with weed in high school, and there was this whole fucking dramatic experience. Like,
You're gonna ruin your life, Nate.
I, right,
Smoking the devil's lettuce.
it was
Loser.
pathetic for real. That whole administration, that whole process of placing me in the same pedestal of the rest of these kids that go home to pretty normal lives. Like, I'm going home to cook dinner for my mom, otherwise we're eating fast food every fucking night.
Mhm.
I got to take care of her, make sure she's bathing, make sure she's doing what she needs to do. You know, granted, I do have the help of my sister. Thank you. I recognize you were there, but that shit was traumatic, yo. And like, you expect me to just come to class, be a dope student, and then be your token black kid that can go tear it up on the athletic field? Like,
That's a lot to.
somebody reach out. Like, Nate, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
and people will say they did that, but it was a cultural divide even then. I graduated in '06, and they weren't ready for that.
Who would have known to have reached out to you?
Coaches, I had one counselor that he told me straight up, he was like, I will help you get into college if you quit coming to school smelling like weed every day. And I was like, man, you're being real as fuck right now. I appreciate that. But he ended up dipping the next year, you know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
that was my sophomore year. He hit me with some truth, and I don't know. It wasn't his job to save me, but I don't think really anybody wanted to make it their job to,
Yeah.
like, I just needed a little guidance. I just
Yeah.
needed a little love.
Well, that can make you. I'm sure that could be a moment of feeling abandoned.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you got a guy telling he's gonna help you get into college, and at that time, it's like, man, college, like that's where, like, I gotta go there. I have to go there.
Or I'm a
Fucking
failure.
yeah, I failed if I didn't do that.
So instead, I got my diploma, but I was not allowed to walk, along with some other kid. I mean, it was,
That's a whole lot of shit, man.
bro. It was
Why did
it
they let you walk?
they didn't.
Yeah, why did they not let you?
I don't know. I did some dumb shit, like drew penises on a kid's face during Spirit
So
Week
you
or
weren't
whatever.
helping yourself?
Oh, bro, I was terrible. I'm telling you. What part of a badass kid? I mean, I was mad. I was angry. I was lost. I wasn't a kid. I didn't get to be a kid until I got to go see what these kids got to behave like, and what they did was cool. But again,
Yeah.
there's a disproportionality. You can look the studies up. Kids of color get office referrals. Like, they get them more frequently. It's
Yeah.
just, it is what it is.
Yeah, man, I could fucking dive into. I mean, the whole. You can extrapolate that to the judicial system, and the fact that it's privatized, that just incentivizes people going to jail.
It's a small percentage, but it is definitely a problem.
Right. I mean, it's just one element, right, to a
Absolutely.
bigger issue, right?
Absolutely.
And then it's it's shown that the disproportionate amount of people of color that go to jail for nonviolent drug related offenses is fucking insane. And just across the board, a lot of these people who are convicted, especially when they're convicted as a kid, I mean, we're holding even some 15 and 16 and 17-year olds to the same standard of a full adult. You know what I mean? It's like you're a child, but once you're labeled a felon, now you can't vote. You know what I mean? Like, at what point do you ever pay your debt back to society? You
You don't.
don't.
You
You
don't.
don't, and it's shown. It's just slavery. It's just another form of slavery. They just, it just
So
created a way.
so the 13th,
The
right?
13th,
Except
exactly.
for except for what does it say? The amendment at the end is like, except for criminals, essentially. Yeah. So it was an attempt to legalize and enterprise slavery in a,
Exactly.
in,
It's
in a
like,
morally acceptable way. Because the problem, so here's the thing. Slavery was what? 250 years, 246 years, something like that. So next we got
three people ago.
True, true. But it was not just three people worth of generations practicing this moral, uh, oh my God, this moral plight. Like,
It still goes on today, which is fucking
yeah,
crazy.
in Libya, is that where it's
I
happening right
can't
now?
remember
Or
exactly, but it's just,
insane.
yeah,
But then you have segregation and Jim Crow, and public lynchings. Like, white people used to get dressed up to go see somebody get hung. That is insane. You put
Yeah,
on your Sunday fucking best to go watch some black person lose their life and
hang
take your kids.
hangings weren't that long ago. You know what I mean? Like it's
So then black people are suddenly free from oppression in what, 1970, when the Voters' Rights Act is passed. This mentality of superiority, of the other, you're different, you're not like me. We're all fucking Homo sapiens, bro. Like,
yeah, we're all just monkeys.
we're all the same thing. Like, it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Primates, baby.
It doesn't just take place in the United States. There's a current rise in supremacy. This attempt to retain ownership.
But here's the thing, we're all just primates, right? But here's the thing. Right now, in our current time, yeah, it's easy to shine the light on white people, Caucasians, our fair skinned friends. However,
I'm half white. Ain't no,
me too. I'm half white too. My mom's white. But my point is, if you look at just over time, people have always been doing this shit. The Persian Empire was at one point the largest empire in the world. Those are all
Genghis
brown
Khan.
people. Exactly. Genghis Khan. They were okay. They're a little bit fair skinned, but still there's some tint there, right? This is just this is what people do for some reason. I don't know why, but I mean,
Agriculturalism.
it's easy to point to think about just our time and say it's just all white people that are just the worst. Like maybe in recent years, those I'll give you that.
That's what it is. It's in recent years.
But throughout history, people are just shitty, man. People are just shitty.
Yeah, I mean, with the advent of agriculturalism came sedentary lifestyles, came innovation, came cooperation, came all these dope things. But minus the sedentary lifestyle. Just being able
Well,
to
life
have
got
shit
better.
to eat,
Hmm.
was nice. But uh, then you start having these sexual division of labor. You have just all of these divisions in general, and uh, yeah, now free labor is going to be, hyper profitable. It's going to yield me more. It's going to make money for my kingdom. Blah blah blah. So yeah, what you're saying is absolutely correct, and I mean that's it's the just the problem is we haven't really talked about and recognized in our country.
But fast forwarding to today, yeah, I'm probably gonna piss off a lot of people listening to this because, man, so I mean, for the record, like, I mean, I support our military 100%, and you know what I
I've
mean?
got family in the military.
Yeah, so like, I
Why
mean,
would I not support?
people know my stance there, or not, maybe if you don't know, but like, I mean, but you have to address the fact that like why did I say okay no I was joking I was like never forget 9/11 and that was a horrific incident right a lot of people
Still
fucking
remember
died
where it was.
you
Yeah.
know it was like 3,000 people I think died in that situation
Yeah.
but more people died from opioids a fucking year and we don't do anything about that and that's another we can
Go ahead.
but never forget that but you need to move on from this and the fact of the matter is you know there are people still alive today you know what I mean who like who were fucking who were there when people were had dogs like fucking unleashed on them and just and lived through segregation like they could there was a school I think in Mississippi who just up until recently had their first non-segregated fucking like prom in like 2000 whatever like you know what I mean
Yeah.
so it's like forget that but don't forget this and it's just like you can't pick and fucking choose man you know what I mean like we're a very young country 1776 you know what I mean like that wasn't that long ago that
No,
this was established
very true. Yeah, yeah,
still a lot
yeah.
there.
That was a lot. I'm trying to decide what piece I'm gonna jump on. Actually, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna kind of try and bring it back. Maybe no, fuck it, fuck it. What I want to do comment on though is, um, again, it's picking and choosing, right? The CCA, what is it? Uh, the prison, their logo on the Dow or the Nasdaq or whatever they're traded on. It went public, I believe, in 1986. The same, just 4 years after crack cocaine was like running rampant, predominantly and disproportionately in
Well, I
black
mean, we know the
communities.
CIA brought that shit in and flooded the streets.
Oh no, freeway Rick Ross is a liar, of course.
Yeah, fuck that, dude.
I mean, it's
We know he did. Like, we know that shit.
so, but now heroin is impacting other communities, and it's, well, they're crying. It's a cry for help.
Yeah.
What we don't want to admit that we treat people differently. Like, people want to argue still that white privilege isn't real. Like, I don't want anything that you have personally. I just want to be able to do the same shit. I would love to have the benefit of the doubt when I get pulled over wearing a flat bill hat. That doesn't happen. I would love the benefit of the doubt when I go in a grocery store, when I go shopping in general, when I'm with my son, and not getting those, "You're one of those." There are tons of good black fathers out here. Are you out of your mind? Like, we are so stuck and set in that every stereotype is true. But when it's reciprocated, it's the worst thing in the world. It's unfathomable, right? This whole Brett Kavanaugh thing, like, who I would absolutely believe a sexual assault victim, but also he couldn't keep his shit together, bro. Like, you're not being attacked. You don't have any calm. You have no resolve.
Yeah.
You panicked. And I would like somebody to be objective when they're my Supreme Court justice, not somebody that thinks it's cool to give out phone numbers to the federal government. What happened to my Fourth Amendment fucking rights? Slight tangent. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw somebody post something about that yesterday. They just kind of made an analogy of I'm not gonna go through the whole analogy, but the point was like, even if like that particular instance, say it isn't true, it's apparent, but you gotta look at how is he like acting, like if, because apparently he just like flat out, again, I live under a fucking rock, so just what people are saying. He
Right.
just flat out lied to Congress, like he just bold-faced lied. So if you're considering that action for what he's actually like being considered for, like that's not the type of person you want in that role. You know what I mean? Like, and we can circle this back around to the fact that fucking judges are appointed and they're there for life.
For
So how
life.
many judges do you think have actually held that role throughout its time? Probably not a whole lot, right? And so those particular people who are at the highest law of the land, they were probably brought up on a particular set of beliefs.
You, you don't say.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me it just makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, when were they established? So we know that even just in the fucking 60s, and we know today, 100% today has to be today. Like, I don't know why it would just not be, but there were people in the KKK as judges, as cops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, running the fucking laws. Like,
Sure.
I'm just saying there was 100% racist ass judges in the beginning, right? And they held that role until they fucking died. And then somebody else appointed a new fucking judge who just replaced them, which probably had, if not the same, similar views. Like, at what point did you weed that all the way out? Has it been?
Ideology is passed down. We are not. We're blank slates for the most part when we're brought into this world. So to think that this concept of superiority died again when the Voters' Rights Act happened. People are like, Martin Luther King was killed 50 years ago. Get over it. Are, are you out of your Are you out of your fucking mind? He was a suspect of the CIA and FBI in the mid to late 50s, in maybe even part of the 60s.
Yeah,
Like, you,
they shut down some movements.
this is by design. But until we have a conversation about it, this divisiveness will remain the same. So even what I'm trying to do, maybe people are like, well, you'll get one, right? You're gonna save one kid's life, and that's all that matters. Well, no, I'm trying to make this evidence based. I'm working with the chairman of my board is a Brown School graduate from WashU here in St. Louis, and we're creating a entry exit survey or a tool rather to assess is what we're doing evidence based. Like, can we quantify that? Yeah, we can make a difference with this, and if we can, then I see no reason to find like-minded people that are interested in making an impact that we can create a program and go to many schools anywhere, because it's not about color, it's about access and opportunities. So we can
Right.
take this to middle of Missouri where they also don't have any opportunities. I I want to fix a greater problem, and it's just disproportionately affecting black people in my particular community.
Right.
Um, so I think giving kids this, jujitsu teaches you and it forces empathy. You have to have it. That's what stopping choking someone when they do that means.
Yeah.
That's what tapping to someone means. That's what submitting is. Like,
Humility, empathy.
you just killed me on the street,
Yeah.
right? You break my ankle. Like, I hate leg locks. Shit's so effective, but I hate them. I'm short. I'm 5'4", bro. Like, I don't get to. I can't. Anyway,
Yeah.
I. But submitting, like, okay, you got me, and then giving someone that maybe didn't have or feel like they had that type of power before some of that power so they can build themselves up. It's it's a very dope martial art, and
Oh yeah.
that's why I picked it. It's passive, right? I don't have to seek fights now. I don't have to engage with a kid in the classroom because they threw my paper on the floor, because they're poking and pushing on me. We do hypothetical scenarios and talk about what are you going to do if this is happening. Before class, during a water break, and it's just giving them tools, right? We're trying to turn that pocket knife and give it a toothpick and then a spoon and then some scissors, and like that's what jujitsu is, but it's also so transferable and applicable to real life.
Oh yeah, yeah. And dude, and it builds community. There's no community like a
Yes,
jujitsu community, and it brings all sorts of people together. And yeah, it's easy to feel like, I mean, we talked about a lot of issues, right? But at the end of the day, like, you can go outside and like it is cool out there. Like, people are still fairly good with each other. You know what I mean? It's not, you know what I mean? It's not, neighborhoods being burned down and fucking a race war and shit like that. You know what I mean?
not at
Like,
all.
you know what I mean? Like, that's not the case. But when you start getting this 5,000 foot view and you start looking at, like, systematically the issues, that's where a lot of it comes into play, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, it is good a lot of places, for a lot of people in the way of we're all just people living, you know what I mean?
We are all just people living. People are just employees at the end of the day. I mean, it's all of these things need to be considered, right? Not all black people hate white people. Not all black people are thugs and criminals. Not all white people are racist. Not all white people hate black people.
Right.
Not all cops profile.
No.
Some cops profile.
Right.
Some cops are fantastic people, like my homie and best man in my wedding. Like, this whole divisive ideology. We need to take a step back and recognize the institutional relationship, this historic problem that has literally never been. I mean, most history books. I mean, Texas Instruments has had dominated the.
Oh yeah, we all had to get calculators.
It was. I think they also produced textbooks and wrote the history books and. Um,
So all the information that was being distributed was kind of going through that one channel right there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's also been predominantly written by white males
The
because
winner, it's his story, bro.
so
The winner writes history.
it's I think important to change the way we do or facilitate education in this country. I mean, even the fucking schedule is stupid. Nobody farms anymore. Why are we taking summers off? Like, go to a 6 week, 4 week pattern, 6 weeks on, 4 weeks off, or whatever, the evidence says we should be doing. Like, if we don't try and catch up, the rest of the world will leave us behind.
Yeah.
We blew up Japan in what, 1940 what? 9?
So, I don't know that.
I don't know those, I don't know wars like that. But let's say before the 50s, they were toast. They were destroyed.
Yeah.
Go look at the skyline of Japan today.
Yeah.
We are going to get left behind. We're not far. We're far as fuck in math and science. Like, we've got to do something different with our education system. We've got to appreciate teachers. We need to appreciate law enforcement. We need to have law enforcement work with social workers because they're wearing so many hats. How could they possibly keep up?
Mm-hmm.
In St. Louis alone, they're forcing mandatory overtime and stuff like that. Like, we gotta start making changes.
We just gotta live a better way. You know what I mean? We gotta quit fighting change. We gotta quit fighting
It's inevitable.
progress. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
inevitable.
why are we rolling back regulations on? You know what I mean? Like, why? Why are we not embracing better ways to do it? Like, why are we not harnessing the sun energy? We have thermal energy from the bottom of the ocean. We could use the fucking ocean current. We can use wind. Like,
You know why? Because people will tell you it's not feasible.
it is feasible.
Because
If we can fucking do it,
because
it's
the
feasible.
market needs to demand it.
Fuck that. If
Because
we need to do it, let's fucking do it. I don't care
no, I
about all these bullshit. How are we gonna maintain that? It's gonna cost all this money. What money is imaginary, right? Like, it's just this agreed upon fucking measurement. Like, now it's just a number in the
It's
fucking system. And some people, we put a lot of zeros there, and we say, you know what, man, Jay, you are a fucking dope ass lyricist. You know what? You can do whatever you want for the rest of your life. You have a lot of zeros.
yeah.
Not to say there's no action and hard work and a lot. But you know what I'm saying?
No,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
We place value in crazy shit.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Man, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just over an hour. It's been a great talk.
It's been dope. Thanks for having me, bro.
I know. We went a lot of places. We're at to sit down again. This is an awesome conversation.
I would love to. Actually, everybody stay tuned. New project starting in May, I hope. I'm not going to drop any names or any details just yet, but stay tuned. I'm gonna rebuild this community. I'm gonna try and break some of this divide, at least fill some of the gaps. I got a son that I want him to see that I work for a living, but what I do is I want to leave something behind. I want to make the world a better place. I hate to be such a cliche, but there's so many problems that we have to fix still, and I plan to contribute to that.
Well, it's important the things that you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you are taking action and you are trying to make change. So yeah, man, that's great. The shit that you're doing. So if people want to learn more about what you're doing, they want to. How can they get in touch with you? Say hello, ask questions, learn more.
Check out the Excelsior program. I don't know how to plug a Facebook. I guess just look up Excelsior Program in St. Louis, Missouri. You can check out our website at excelsiorprogram.org. I believe I also have the domain for .com, so if you go .com, it should take you to the site as well. Anyone, anything would be fantastic. If you have time, if you have some energy, if you have a special set of skills, if you have wrestling mats, if you have wrestling tape, if you have gis, if you have rash guards, if you have just gym shorts or t-shirts or a t-shirt printing company and you would like to print some stuff for us, if you have cash, we would love cash so I can pay my coaches. Yeah, this has been an expensive project so far.
Yeah,
But these kids deserve something, man. So
good stuff. Do you have any personal socials you want to plug or no?
yeah, you can hit me up on Facebook too, Nate Oatis, Oatis. I'm on Instagram. I don't know. I don't do Twitter. I can't. Facebook is enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good shit, brother. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping by.
thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Till next time.